Actors, what mythical creatures. A lot of new directors are really kind of freaked out about how to work with actors, so as someone who's been acting for 18 years and who has worked as a director, I'm going to share my way with which I work with performers. Now, of course, not all actors are the same. Every performer has their own way of getting into character, of analyzing characters, but let's jump right into it. So your work with actors begin in pre-production, once you actually cast them. It's the actor's job really to know their character better than anyone. And so when you're going through pre-production, whether that's maybe some additional script rewrites or through rehearsals, I believe it's always really important that you don't dictate to an actor what their character is, but work with them to better flesh out a character. And that comes down to discussing the character's background and their intentions, what they're trying to achieve within the film, and what they're trying to achieve within each scene. Every character in every scene kind of has their own personal agenda for what they're trying to achieve, or maybe what they're trying to avoid. And so having those discussions with your actors at the very beginning is really helpful for them to kind of dive deeper into the character's inner soul, but also really helpful for you as the director to not only develop your own ideas, but also to know that you're both on the same page. They might bring ideas that are different to what's written in the script or what you originally had planned. So really listen to them throughout the process. And it's your job as the director to kind of oversee the entirety of the project and to help integrate their ideas into the rest, if they work. And so when you're preparing for a scene in rehearsals, I would also suggest that you don't necessarily plan out the blocking of the scene either until you're working with your actors. Having a pre-planned blocking really locks them in, and they might not find that certain moments, let's say that character's about to stand up because they're angry, they might not necessarily feel that that particular line or that particular moment fits for the character, or if the character would even stand up in anger to begin with. And it's not only just for the performance, they might also have ideas about costuming, costuming. They might have ideas about costuming. That's pretty much it. So work with them throughout all of pre-production. So when you're on set with an actor and you're working to direct the scene, and you have feedback for them, let's say at the end of a first take, or you've done your rehearsal run. If you have feedback to give them, there's a few things to keep in mind. One, in general, actors do not like being told what to think or specifically what to do. I would say never give an actor a line read. And what I mean by a line read is, hey, can you say it like this? I don't want to go to school today, unless it's absolutely necessary. If the way they're saying it is completely missing the point of the scene, that's less to do with just kind of the specific intonation and more probably just they don't understand the stakes of the scene, how important it is to not go to school that day. Just like everyone else on set, they are artists, and they want to have the autonomy to put their own creative vision into the character and to interpret the character. And so when you're giving direction, direct intention, direct energy, direct flow, tempo, all that kind of stuff, but not delivery. So what's an example of this? It's happened really early on in my first ever stint directing that I told an actor, I really want the scene to get like bigger and bigger and bigger. Like I want them to get louder and louder and louder over time. Now that is a literal direction of just the volume of their voice without giving any kind of reason behind it. You have to know the justification behind it, the reason behind it. And not just because I want the scene to be louder, but what's the justification for that character to get more worked up? Maybe you can discuss, that character is being challenged right now by this other person, the person sitting across from them. And in their relationship, that character is always being questioned. And so maybe this is a final straw. Something has finally kind of clicked, snapped, and that character's had enough. If you can ground it within character choices and character intentions, agendas, all that kind of thing, as opposed to just saying, can you be louder? Can you make the scene get angrier? Like those are not necessarily creative directions towards an actor. Now, of course, sometimes they just are talking too quietly. You know, sometimes I've just had an actor who talked so quietly that it was picking up all the microphones were picking up all the noise around the location, and the sound person was like, hey, can this person talk a little bit louder? Then that's a technical thing that's like a requirement for filming. I go up and be like, you know, for this next take, can you just kind of up the projection a little bit so that the microphones can pick you up better? The next thing I want to say is that when you are giving feedback to an actor, let's say you've just called cut and you go, cut! Hey, great job everyone, great take. So first off, I would always say that it's nice to start with some positives. Hey actor, we'll call this actor Belinda. Hey Belinda, great job, great take. I really like what you did there. That's coming across really nice. So starting off with a little bit of positive is a great way to start. I would say also not to shout your directions over everyone. I would go in and speak to that person one-on-one. If it's a group note for all 2 or 3 actors in the scene, maybe I would give that as a whole, and then I would turn and I would speak to each person individually, give them notes privately, as opposed to shouting it in the way that the cast and crew can all hear. If you're directing a scene that's particularly emotional, so whether that be sadness or anger or passion or anything like that, it's really helpful and actors appreciate if you give them kind of emotional space. And that kind of comes down to one actual literal space, if maybe people clear away from the actors after a take and it's really just you and them and maybe the first AD listening in. But it does also mean the way in which you speak to them. So if, let's say, it's a really kind of emotional heavy moment, they've done, you know, a great job, there was nothing wrong. If you kind of go, hey, that was an awesome job, that was really good. All right, let's switch it up. Like you're taking them out of whatever kind of emotion they've set up for themselves. It could be quite shocking for them to constantly being pulled in and out so dramatically of whatever emotional space they're living in that moment. If it is an emotional scene, make sure that not only is everyone else respecting their space, their emotional space, but that you're also talking to them in a tone, in a volume, and in an intimacy that kind of fits with what they're doing. Acting is an emotionally draining role. It's a very tiring position to do on a film. And so having someone check in regularly with the actors, and I don't mean necessarily emotionally, because maybe you should be doing that as the director, checking in with them, seeing how they're doing, do they need a break or whatever. I often have, let's say, students PA on my sets and say you're responsible for making sure that the actors are feeling good, that they're fed, that they have their water, do they need anything. Check in with them every 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, to make sure that they are ready to go when they need to be. And all of this kind of boils down to understanding actors. Now, of course, there are actors that are divas. Like, you know, they're gonna be very arrogant, very whatever, and entitled. It's actually extremely rare. I have maybe once come across someone who was a little bit more high maintenance than the rest of the cast. It's extremely rare. The rest of the time, actors are very sensitive. They are very playful. They're ready to go and they're ready to kind of create fun stuff with you. But their art and their instrument is entirely intertwined with them. When you watch a movie that has bad sound and you go, what's bad sound? You're not necessarily gonna recognize the same name in the credits who did the sound for one film compared to another. But a film's aesthetic is entirely intrinsically entwined with the visuals and the performance of an actor. So there is a lot riding on them achieving what they want as an artist as much as what you want as an artist. So as long as you understand that there's a lot of pressure on an actor, the more you can do to make them feel comfortable and safe pursuing their art, the better performance you're gonna get and the better time you're gonna have on set. And I, by the way, suggest that all directors take at least one acting class, just to really see how it feels to be up in front of everyone with just the class, but on set with the whole cast and crew watching you and it's sometimes judging your performance. Really, everyone on set should know how that feels. in my opinion. So that's it, my friends. I hope this was helpful. Leave a comment if you have any questions about working with actors. Again, every actor is different. So one of the first steps I would always say is just to talk with your actors about how they like to be directed. And check in with them consistently throughout the process if they're getting what they need from you to be able to interpret the character and give you the scene performance that you want. Okay, that's it. Bye.